you started in '94. That was around Desert Storm. Was Desert Storm still going on, or had it just ended around then?
Yes, I actually got 2 tours
Oh, so
over
you did
there.
2 tours of Desert Storm. Wow. Is that where
Hmm.
you're talking about the 130-degree heat?
Well, yeah, yes. And we're not. I remember, and people think I'm joking. Um, I was working on one of the aircraft. I was working on an A-10 at the time. It's an attack aircraft. Um, if you've ever seen GI Joe, the original ones, that the model of their Cobra aircraft was modeled after the A-10. But I'm up there and I'm working, and it's about 11:30 at night around that time. I'm sweating because it's still hot. I mean, well, I shouldn't say hot. It's colder, but it still has like a humidity to it. So I'm out there working. I'm like, I'm cold and I'm sweating. This sucks. And the guy walked up. He was like, "Hey man, Happy New Year." Looked at my watch. That's how I spent my New Year. I was
Wow.
working on an aircraft. He was like, "Happy New Year, brother," and he walked off. I was like, "This sucks." I finished up the aircraft, went inside. They had some ginger ale, sitting there ready for it. So I got inside about 1:15, something like that. And they were like, "Hey man, grab some. Happy New Year," and gave me a hug and everything. None of these guys that I like, they suck. They were like, "Happy New Year," and they gave me a hug, and we just sat around and BS'd until the sun came up. Well, we were still at work, but we had gotten everything done, and we just talked about our families. We talked about who we miss. At the time, I didn't have kids, and we talked about everything. Just a bunch of guys from all these different backgrounds. Some we didn't like, some we loved, and we just spoke for like 4 hours and laughed and joked and drank ginger ale. Obi, I think that trip I was in Kuwait. I
Wow.
was actually in Kuwait, yeah.
I mean,
And
it sounds like not the funnest you like. Someone would think a great New Year, but it sounds like it pretty ended up being a pretty memorable New Year for you.
it was, and like that's why I tell people that type of camaraderie. When you hear a fellow service member needs something, it's hard to kind of go, nah, yeah, whatever, because you're thinking, man, we sat down, we spent New Year's in a desert together. We did this, we did, how can you turn your back on somebody you've done all that with, or that has been through that?
Exactly. So I have a
So,
question. You know those big giant like spider-like things that they say they attach to the bottom of camels? That
Camel Spiders, yeah,
did you see those when you were out there?
yes, I got chased by one.
What? Tell us about
I got
that.
chased. This is probably the worst. This is gonna make me sound like such a punk, but it's the truth. This is my first deployment, and I was walking back to my they call them expandables. It's like a tent, but it looks more like an accordion. They pull it apart and they put the beams up top and on bottom from the state expanded, and that's what you lived in. Yeah, that was it. Um, just enough for 4 people and a couch. That was it. Now it sounds so depressing, but we were like, "Whew, good, not a tent." So we were happy back then. I was walking back to my expandable, and they had rocks on the ground because rocks actually help keep roaches and ants and things like that from building living areas to where they don't get in the tents and they don't get in the expandables. So it was rocks all over the place. So when you hear it, it's almost like you're walking on crushed ice the whole time. Most annoying sound in the world, but they didn't sound right. So I turned, and it was probably about this big.
Mm-mm.
Well, they tell us, they give us an abundance of information when we get there about these things. Because even though they're not poisonous, if they get on you, they'll inject a chemical that numbs the part of your body, and then they can just eat away, and you won't feel it. Well, they do that. That's how they do to camels. To
That's some real
camels,
life alien shit right
Oh
there.
my God. That's terrifying.
the story gets better. So when I saw it, I kicked rocks at it. Okay, that was stupid. When I kicked rocks at it, the front legs came up.
Oh no.
What they tell you is that when the front legs came up, they're about to jump. They have a 3 foot vertical in any direction.
Wow, that's more than most
So
humans.
when the legs came up, I screamed. I was like, ah! And I broke out running. I was like, whew, okay, this is nothing. I turned around, it was chasing me. They moved very fast. And when I tell you I turned, it was probably a good 2 feet from me. Yeah, I freaked. So I literally ran to the point to where my heels were kicking my behind. That's not an exaggeration.
That's adrenaline, right? Yeah.
And when I got in the expandable, I jumped on my bed, and one of my roommates, to this day I don't know his name. I never knew his name. He was just, we were all just thrown together. He was like, "You okay, dude?" I was like, "Camel Spider was chasing me." He was like, "The same thing happened to me yesterday. Holy shit." So, and I was like, he was like, "They're huge, bro. I'm gonna go back to my bed." He didn't want to go out the door in case it was there. So yes, they are huge. I had a one story, and I kind of hate telling this story. We had a guy who was afraid of spiders and didn't tell anyone.
Oh no.
And he stepped on a nest, and they crawled up his back.
Of camel spiders?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He froze. He was petrified. They had to send him home.
Oh.
He was. I remember one of the guy who was telling me the story, because I wasn't there for it. Was telling me the story. He said, "When I tell you that guy froze," he said, "You'd have thought he looked into the eyes of Medusa." He went and stopped. He was that terrified. He just froze. And they had to, so the guy was knocking the spiders off of him, and he was still like this, and the guy was knocking the spiders off of him and getting them into the, calling some of the med techs and getting out there. Yeah, they sent him home like a day later.
Wow. That guy's traumatized.
He was, and we were all just like, he sat on a nest. And they're like, yeah. And he didn't feel it. He did like this. He was like, "Man, why is he twitching?" And when he turned, he saw the legs come over the guy's shoulder. He was like,
Oh, hell no.
He went to go tell him. The guy went, he said that was it.
Of course,
He
it's
was
the
like,
guy
"Why is this
that's
guy
afraid of
moving?"
spiders.
He was slapping off the spiders. He said, the guy was like, yeah, it was it.
Oh man, that is crazy. Wow, so they are real, and they are real scary and real nasty.
Because they're not exactly spiders. That's the thing about it. They're actually part of the scorpion family.
Gotcha.
Worse.
So, but they're not venomous. If they bite you, that part of your body's going to go numb. It's going to swell up, because you were bitten. But they're not poisonous. Well, not the species that we encountered. I've heard there are some poisonous ones. I never researched it, so I don't know.
There's
but the ones we
poisonous ones of those.
I've heard it, but I've never seen them, and I've never researched it. So, but I can tell you some of the Saudis actually. When I was in Saudi Arabia, they're there too. They showed us pictures of camels. Some of the guys who were Saudis in there, and they showing us pictures. I'm like, "Is that camel have a dent in its leg?" He's like, "Yeah. Can't race anymore." Blah blah blah. I was like, "Are you serious?" One, the whole stomach fell out.
Oh.
The camel's stomach, like it basically was disemboweled.
Yeah.
From how it was eaten, and it just, anyway, I know it's disgusting, but that's one of the things. It was, yeah. So when and I said all to say this, when you live experiences like that with people, it is hard not to come away with a level of camaraderie.
Hell yeah.
The looks on your guys' faces now, I don't get the looks from them. They're like, "Yeah." It's like, "Holy crap." And they're like, "Yeah, I remember that." You have ladies that were like, "Yeah, I had one in the shower with me." We were like, "Oh, good night, huh?" And we're joking about it. We tell anybody else, they're like, "I'd have freaked out." She's like, "No." When you gonna fall and bust your face in the shower. So what you do is you grab something and knock it out. You're like, and you get back to it. Yeah. We've only got a 5-minute shower, guys. Don't scream too hard, Yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy, man.